What is up, guys? Welcome back. I hope that you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope that you've had a fantastic 2 weeks. Surprise, we ended up taking a week off last week. That's one of the things that happens when you have a day job. Stuff creeps up. But you know what? We're going to roll with the punches. We're back this week, and boy, do we have a lot for you. I am Chris, a Green Beret medic, a husband, and a father.
I am Pastor Eric. I am in Wisconsin, and it is cold.
God's country. I'm telling you, tell them
Amen.
to turn off the air conditioner. You'll be fine.
I know, but Canada just keeps blessing us. What can I say?
All right. Coming at you guys this week, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving since most of us are still, in our tryptophanic comas afterwards, trying to figure out what happened yesterday. I'm going to debunk a couple of myths about the holiday and talk about where it really came from and why we really celebrate it, because I'm really tired of people telling me why I can't celebrate Thanksgiving. Screw you, man. All right, we're gonna talk about who's who and what's new, the latest headlines of the day. Things are getting pretty weird out there, but we're here to ride the dragon. It's gonna be awesome. And then in the Bible's biggest screw ups, heading into our keeping the main thing, we're gonna talk about Demas. Who is that?
He's mentioned in the Bible 3 times.
That's one of those Bible Bowl questions for you Awanas out there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm ready to get into it. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
Let's kick this pig.
Here we go.
It's the same way about your mom and that stupid airsoft gun. Do you remember that?
I do. What is up, guys? We are going to jump straight into the big idea.
Yeah.
And for the big idea this week, hey, I'm going to debunk some Thanksgiving myths. All right. I am really sick and tired of, first of all, people just like taking a dump on Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is a great American traditional holiday from the very foundings of our country.
Yes, it's our only true Christian holiday that we still have.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm going to debunk a couple things about Thanksgiving, and then I want to give my theory as to why I think that your super left-wing, progressively minded individuals want to bury Thanksgiving so bad, because I think there's a very specific reason to it. I think there's a political reason, and I think there's a spiritual reason to it. But Here's what I want to start with, right? So what will they tell you about Thanksgiving? It's a terrible colonial holiday. It celebrates, the white man taking advantage of and driving out the indigenous peoples or the Native Americans. It represents colonialism. It represents conquest. Sort of some of the other lies. The Native Americans did not get along very well with the colonials. They were only being taken advantage of, and on and on and on it goes. When you celebrate Thanksgiving, this is what one person I heard say on the internet earlier this week, and it really put a bee under my bonnet. They said when you celebrate Thanksgiving, what you're really celebrating is the conquest of the indigenous people of the United States. The murder of innocent Native Americans. Like, first of all, don't tell me what I'm celebrating when I do a thing, right? Like that really irritates me, like right off the bat. Don't tell me what I'm celebrating.
I know what's in your mind.
Exactly. Because that only ever goes one way. You know how that works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you don't tell me what I'm celebrating on Thanksgiving, and I won't tell you that you're ugly. How about that? So anyway,
I won't tell the police what you're smoking. How about that?
Well, there's a lot of places that don't matter anymore. So,
That's true. That's true.
Here I have a resource that I wanted to show you guys. I got a book right here. It's pretty cool. It's called The American Story.
Oh, your mic shorted.
Oh, no. Am I back? Hello?
Don't have you.
I got me on my side, so
Don't
I
have you.
think your ears shorted. I think your ears shorted. It's your ears, dude. It's not my mic. I'm telling you. Yeah, it's your
Oh,
ears.
wait a minute. Maybe I shorted.
Yes. That's
Oh,
what
that was totally me,
that's what I'm
everybody.
trying.
I
That's
shorted.
what I'm over here trying to tell you. I'm like my levels are good.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that in because that's
Okay.
real.
All right.
Anyway,
So our malfunction is produced. Okay. Cool.
It's baked into the cake, as it were.
It just
Anyway,
tells you. It just tells you how
authentic.
authentic we're being.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Anyway, so you can hear me now, right? So anyway, I got what I got for you guys this week is a pretty cool resource. We'll go back up to the top here. This is called The American Story. It's a history book that I use as part of the curriculum because we homeschool my kids here. It's written by co-authors David and Tim Barton. Now, they run an organization called the Wall Builders out of Aledo, Texas. Have you ever heard of them?
Seems to me I have, but I don't know
All
why.
right. So the Wall Builders is a 501c3 organization. It's a living and growing. Well, part of what they do is the organization. They're dedicated to preserving the true constitutional history of the United States. And to that end, they have a living and growing library, which they teach out of and give lectures out of and run university and classes out of, but they have hundreds of thousands of original source documentation in that library from the founding fathers and from the colonial period, stretching from the early 1900s all the way back into the even into the 1600s. It's really incredible. They have a ring in just to show you like the level of authenticity that they possess inside. Handwritten letters from Alexander Hamilton being transcribed to from George Washington during the Revolutionary War. They have the original documents there in the library. They have a ring that was worn. It was donated to them by one of the descendants of Alexander Hamilton that was worn by him after the death of George Washington that has a locket of George Washington's hair in the ring that they have still there. Absolutely incredible. And what is really, really cool about them, I'm not just trying to shill for them in this episode, but I just want you to understand that when I'm reading to you from this book that I'm getting ready to source some stuff out of, there are absolute footnotes in this book that go straight back to source documents from the time, right, that this book is referencing. So if you want to get mad at me and you're saying, oh, that's just right-wing revisionist history, no, it's not. Go check out wallbuilders.com. You can listen to their podcast. You can go look at it. No, this is actually stuff that was written down by our founding fathers in their hands.
Right.
This is what I'm talking about. So you can go get bent. All right. So especially, if especially if you read, a brief history of the world, if that's like where you get your stuff from. Okay. So that's it. We need to start there. All right. So anyway, So I'm going to read to you just a little bit from this book, talking about, the famous Thanksgiving and why we celebrate this day. So with Squanto's help, we all know who Squanto was, or hopefully we do, if you remember from like 6th grade social studies, the original Wampanoag Indian man warrior that helped the Puritans or the Pilgrims learn how to plant corn and all that jazz that got them through their first deadly winter, right? The Pilgrims harvested sufficient food for their upcoming second winter. They had no surplus, but things definitely looked up much better than they had the preceding year when half of the colonists had died. Half of them did not make it through that first winter. All right, so Governor William Bradford, therefore, appointed a day of Thanksgiving, for they had much for which to be grateful. They now had a place where they could freely worship God. Yes, that is why our fathers came to this land.
It was the whole reason for coming.
They had survived their first year in the wilderness of New England, and with Squanto's help, they had reaped a good harvest. Grateful for these blessings, the Pilgrims invited their Wampanoag neighbors to celebrate and give thanks to God with them. Invited their neighbors to come and give thanks to God with them.
Right.
Chief, I'm gonna butcher this name and I apologize. Chief Massasoit and some 90.
Very good.
Oh, thank you. One part of a word at a time. So,
Hmm.
and some 90 of his men came and feasted with the remaining pilgrims. Footnote there, but I'm not going to follow it. So, the pilgrims and their Indian neighbors dined on deer, turkey, fish, lobster, eels, vegetables, cornbread, herbs, berries, and pies. Daggone, man. Surf and turf?
It sounds pretty good, except for the eel.
Well, and here's the part too. The pilgrims barely had, according to what I just read, they didn't have great harvests. They weren't bountiful. They collected enough for the winter. So where do you think all of this food that I just described came from for them to have this feast to be thankful for what they had?
Right.
Right. So
Right.
it had to be provided by their neighbors, the Native American neighbors. Right. So they also engaged in athletic competition, including running, wrestling, and shooting. It's pretty cool. Chief
Hmm.
Massasoit enjoyed himself so much that he and his men stayed for 3 days. 3 days they stayed and partied.
Yeah, because there was enough food there.
Yeah.
Ah, refrigerator empty. We go.
Yeah. Yeah. No more whiskey. We go home. A common narrative today, right, is that the Indians hated the colonists because of their land grabbing practices and general racist disdain for the natives. However, the first Thanksgiving shows this claim as both illogical and completely unfounded, right?
Hmm.
After all, the 53 pilgrims, now do you remember how many Native American men showed up?
90.
We're comprised of 4 women, 14 young boys and girls, and 13 infants of the 53. Only 22 men. All right. On the other hand, the 90 Indians were all warriors.
Hmm.
All right. If there had been ill will, the Indians could have eliminated the pilgrims in a matter of minutes,
On the spot.
but they did not. Um,
If there was some level of angst or whatever, they just wouldn't have showed up and let nature do its job. They already
right,
lost half of them.
right, right.
Let's see how they survive this
They ain't
winter.
gonna make it through this winter. There's only 20.
No.
There's only 22 dudes left. Yeah, so for sure, they were friends. The Pilgrim story is one of many demonstrating that the modern portrayals of early colonists are often inaccurate. And by the way, this was not the first Thanksgiving in America. Dun dun dun. There had been several others prior to this one, but only as occasions of prayer, right? This pilgrim event birthed the tradition of Thanksgiving as a time that includes not only prayer, but also feasting and athletic events. And then, if you knew enough about American history, you would know that it wasn't instituted as a national holiday in the United States till the 1800s under Abraham Lincoln, my personal favorite of the presidents, up there with Teddy Roosevelt and George Washington. Um, and there you have the actual history of the day of that we celebrate to this day as being Thanksgiving.
And the concept is not an American concept, but rather a Jewish concept over there known as the Feast of Tabernacles.
Yep.
It takes more than just a week in order to do it, but it's to give God thanks for the bounty of the
Yep.
harvest.
Yep. So it's like where did the pilgrims get the idea to do a feast as a sign and a show of thanks for the harvest of the bounty that they had? You're right. That actually comes from the Bible that they carried with them.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
looking into Jewish tradition. So
Mhm.
yeah. So there you go. Uh, and you guys, if it ever gets muddy for you, or you got to kind of cut through the smoke and all of the BS that people throw at you about Thanksgiving, it seems that really, and this is kind of getting sad, but really Thanksgiving is being overshadowed even by Black Friday. Which is
Well, yes. I started at the beginning of this segment by saying that it's the last of true Christian
Yeah.
holidays in our country, in our culture. All the rest of the holidays have been overrun, including Easter.
Yeah.
Easter is not about the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is what Easter's supposed to be about.
Easter Sunday.
Easter is about the spring sales, and
Right.
yeah, we don't. Christ doesn't show up.
Well,
Christ doesn't show up in
they don't
Christmas.
even call it Thanksgiving and Easter break from school anymore. Now it's
No,
spring and
right.
fall break.
Yeah, spring and fall break used to be Easter break and fall break, but it's hard with the name Thanksgiving. It is awful hard to get rid of the Christendom that is in it because, as your brother likes to say to me rather frequently, okay, you're giving thanks to who?
Yeah, and over what? Well, the very idea
For
the very idea that you should be grateful or thankful is an innately
to whom? For what?
right. That is an innately Christian ideal that you have
Mm-hmm.
something and that you should be grateful for the blessings that you have. That is not a like
Where did those blessings come from?
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why do you feel that way about the stuff that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very hard. So you made the point that I was going to make that I said that I believe that there's a spiritual and a political reason that
All
Thanksgiving is
right.
trying to be erased. And you absolutely hammered on the spiritual point. You know, at a certain level, people just don't like God. They don't like Jesus. They don't like the idea that maybe
Right.
there's somebody out there that says how they should and shouldn't live. And so that would cause them to maybe feel or not feel guilty about the things that they do. So they just really want to strip him
Right.
out of absolutely everything that they can and anything that
Yeah.
reminds them of him. There's a certain amount of that. And
Okay. What about the political? I'm a little curious. What's that?
yeah, so in doing my own research to get ready for this segment, there was a name that popped up in that section that I was reading, the original mayor of the Pilgrim settlement. His name was William Bradford.
Bradford.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Pilgrims first came over and established Jamestown Colony, Massachusetts, right? They, I just lost my train of thought for a second.
Jamestown. Jamestown's not in Virginia.
Well, Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. I may have gotten the name of the first settlement
Yeah, they
wrong.
landed.
Sorry.
Pilgrims are at Plymouth Rock.
Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. I apologize. Thank you for the real time correction. But when they first landed, they in building their settlement, they instituted a very and again understand that they are Puritans by faith, right? They instituted a very socialistic society to where the entire well, it was a commune. I was trying to find another word to use from that. Settlement. The entire settlement was basically a commune. It was communally owned by all of them. And in order to work together to survive the harsh New England climate and winter, they took all of the food, all of the crops that they grew, and they cohabitated them and then parceled them out so that everybody got an equal share of everything that was harvested and grown, all the fish,
Mm-hmm.
all everything. That was the system that they originally instituted.
Yeah, they instituted a socialistic institution. What happened to it?
Right. Half of them died. They almost didn't make it through that first winter. And William
Right.
Bradford took it upon himself. And if you go back and read his diary, which they still have, the
They
writings,
still have.
he
And
said that part of the reason they didn't have enough supplies to last that first winter was because the people in charge of farming weren't producing enough. The people that were in charge of fishing weren't gathering enough. The people that they had in charge of mending clothes and so on and
they
so forth.
had more people pulling on the resources
Right, then they had
that they had
resources.
resources because the people did not get they didn't put enough work
Right.
in to prepare for
Right.
everybody.
And William Bradford, in his own writing, stated that he felt that the reason was because the people didn't have sufficient enough motivation because they didn't have ownership of anything to put hard work. They weren't incentivized to work above and beyond because they
Right.
knew no matter how hard they worked, they were going to get an equal share of whatever was in there.
Yeah,
Whatever was in the kitty at the end, right?
They took socialistic economics with communistic
Government.
politics and put together their commune.
Commune.
In that instance, it really would be a commune and not a settlement.
It was a commune, and it was a religious commune in that.
A little correction. We're talking about Bradford, so this is the Pilgrims. You use the word Puritans.
Excuse me.
That's a different community.
All right. Apologies. Thank you again.
All right.
So heading into that second winter, we just read about the first Thanksgiving. William Bradford decided, and through that preceding spring and summer, to redistribute the land and give the tracts of land ownership to the individual families that were left. And he told them, whatever that you produce on this tract of land will go to you and your family.
It's yours.
So there were certain things that they still communally worked together for. Their defense. Defense was a community thing. The men all worked to defend the settlement. Now at this point, we will call it a settlement, not a commune. But everything else went to you and your family.
One other thing, worship.
Oh, the worship, corporate worship. Right. And they were still expected to tithe, because remember, they were a religious society, so there was a certain amount of tithe that went into the church.
With the worship, and that salt was seen as worship.
Right, and there is actually where they drew from for if there was a family going through that second winter that wasn't able to put away enough grain, had a poor harvest, had a whatever, it came out of those stores to see that family had enough. The church, oh my gosh, took care of the needy to make sure that they were well done. So in this story of the first Thanksgiving in the first 2 years of the original American settlement, you see a failed socialistic system turned into a capitalistic system where ownership of the land. Actually, I'm going to get very Lockean on you right here, guys. If you guys are ready to keep up with me, the ownership of the means of production was pushed to the individual instead of kept at the government level where it was originally. Even though it was a very tiny government, still it was at the government level, that the ownership of the means of production was pushed to the individual. And then going into that second winter, not only did they have enough saved up because they each individually worked for their own family and their own needs and their own goods, they were incentivized to work harder because they had ownership, they had stake in the things that they were producing, that they had enough going into the second winter that they were able to even have a bounty to have a Thanksgiving. Right? And so for these two reasons, because you can't strip God out of being thankful for the things that you have, and also covering up one of the most glaring examples of a failure of socialism.
It just about killed him.
I believe it just about wiped out us, guys. No beginning. Plymouth, no America. Right? It wouldn't have worked out this way. And what
was the name of the document that they sealed it with?
The Mayflower Compact?
That's it.
Hey, look at me. It's like I went to school. So anyway, but for these two reasons, guys, politically and spiritually, this is why I believe that they're trying to get rid of Thanksgiving. They don't want you to remember what the true holiday, the birth of the holiday, where it comes out of. They want to expunge it from the record. They also want to take away one of our greatest American traditions. They really don't want people that are against Thanksgiving. These are the type of people that really don't want to see you be happy. They don't want to see you be comfortable. They don't want to see you have nice things. They really just want you to be as miserable, as ugly, and just as, discontented with life as they are. But hold out, friends. Eat your turkey. I hope that you're still eating cold turkey sandwiches tonight. I hope that you guys
until all next week.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching the Packers spank the Lions. That was certainly fun. And I hope that you guys had an awesome and an incredible Thanksgiving with the people that love you and that you love the most. because I know
And
that I
I'd
sure
like
did.
to really quick just say something to our viewers and our listeners. We came up with this subject matter and had fun discussing it, but I would just like to challenge you if there's other things in debunking or subject matters or issues, could you put them down in the comments and make some suggestions for us? We would love to do that, or make comments about what we said.
Yeah.
We'd really like to hear from you. And now Chris is going to tell us the rest of the things that you need to do.
Yeah, so make sure you like the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did like it, is what I meant to say. Share the video with a friend. The only way that we're going to grow is with your guys' help, because the algorithms certainly don't like us, especially not with what we're talking about today. What do you see?
Not
What do
that.
you see the headlines coming up that I go into? And please make sure you're sticking around for the who's who and what's new, and the keeping the main thing the main thing. Can't wait to see you guys over there.
See you there.
I'm retarded?
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep rolling straight into who's who and what's new. I'm going to remind you, just like I do every single week, we have not.
You're going to do it again,
I'm
right?
going to do it again. Just
Keep it up then,
That's
buddy.
what she said. So,
Ha ha.
we have not talked about these headlines at all. I have collected them throughout the week because we missed last week. So I have a few that I'm going to roll in that I thought were still important to keep around because they were big news. But we have not talked about these at all. I go out, I find what interests me, I find what is trending, going viral, what the kids say. I grab them, we throw them up here, and we talk about them in real time. You ready?
I'm ready. Are we doing rapid fire, or are we doing not necessarily deep dive discussion? We're just hit and miss. Which way are we going?
This is long form. We're doing
Long
we're
form.
doing the long forms now.
Okay.
Gotcha. You know, if you guys have been listening to us for a while, then you know we used to be like crunch time, rapid fire, try to get through stuff in 10 minutes. Well, we're kind of opening that up now. We're doing more long form, you know, Joe Rogan style is what I guess is in vogue. But yeah, like we like to spend a little bit of time talking about this stuff. And then, you know what? I grab some clips, more of the spicier takes or whatever, throw them over on Instagram for you guys. But long form for the people that stick with us on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
And that want to hear a real show.
Absolutely. All right.
Okay,
So
here we go.
Here we go. All right. So number one, I'm going to start off kind of not good news, but this one I thought was, hey guys, if you want to know where this stuff's going, a pioneering approach. This is from Mount Sinai Transgender Medical Clinic. It's a medical clinic of some kind. Anyway, a pioneering approach to gender affirming surgery from a world leader in the field. So I'm going to butcher your name, doctor. I apologize. Dr. Miroslav Djordjevic, MD and PhD.
He's from the other world. I know where he's from. Okay.
There you go. An internationally renowned surgeon and a leading authority on surgery for transgender individuals is developing a procedure to match two patients undergoing transgender surgery, one male to female and the other female to male. You can't actually do that. Whatever. And transfer the genitalia between these live donors in a one-stage procedure instead of discarding them as is done now. So they are actively working on basically taking the male genitalia. I'm just going to say it, guys.
Genitalia.
Yeah, the penis and the testicles off of a dude and transfer them right over onto a female. Not quite sure. I'd be a little bit more interested to see how you're going to remove, I would imagine, the breast tissue, obviously, from the female. But as far as like
No, they would remove the breast tissue, but they would not give the breast tissue to the male. They would enhance his estrogen, and he would develop his own breast tissue.
No. They're talking about transferring them. I'm telling you.
Really?
I'm telling you. And then the uterus and the full plumbing, guys. They're trying to transfer between
You know they
two
can't do the
individuals.
uterus,
There's
right?
nowhere to go with it. You
Well,
have to
beside
decapitate a
that,
dude's abdomen out.
XY would reject the
I
uterus. He would have organ rejection.
I would be really well. You know, I'm sure they're gonna figure out a way to put this square peg into the round hole, and that would be a thing. You know, I would challenge you guys, anybody that would listen to us, and I mean, it's no. You obviously know where my stance is on this stuff. You know, if you have it,
I'm just taking a sheer science stand.
If you haven't caught it before, you know, just like you can't remodel a Pizza Hut and nobody like not know that it wasn't a Pizza Hut at one time. It doesn't matter what else you put in that building. If you were born a male, guys, you were a male. Like every strand of DNA that you have in your body, every cell that you have has a Y chromosome in it. You are male, like to your core. And it doesn't matter what human surgeons change the plumbing to look like or change the aesthetic of the outside to look like, you're still a male. Sorry, that's the way that God made you. All right.
Right. And you realize everything that it takes to operate a uterus, that he will have organ rejection. What they will have to do in order to make his body accept an organ that his body has never had. This is going to sound funny because we don't think of a uterus as being a major organ, but you stick that tissue in a body that won't have it, you can end up killing this guy.
Well, and the way that organ works, I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden you didn't, even if it miraculously were to find a way to keep that organ alive, then wouldn't, by the nature of the organ growing endothelium inside of it continuously, monthly, and then not being endocrinologically told to slough it off and to remove it, then wouldn't he run into like a life-threatening case of like
he's got that
endometriosis
problem?
like everything? There's so many problems that would run into this trying to make this work.
Basically the largest thing that they're running into is they are putting one giant cancer cell in his body, because what cancer is damaged proteins that your body doesn't recognize and then ends up forming into tissue. And they're forcing his body to take tissue that his body will not recognize because a male bodies don't have it. Yeah. It can't. And so basically, yeah, they're going to kill him with cancer. Basically, they're handing him a tumor and putting it in his body.
And if you guys want to look up something interesting, I'm not going to run down this rabbit hole any farther, but look up.
That's just science to what you and I are talking about. That's just science.
Look up the recidivism rate on so-called transgender surgeries.
Yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
Look up how often these people wind up, back in the hospital with infections, with all kinds of medical issues because of creating, open stomas in their body that's not supposed to be there, sewing tissue on their body that's not supposed to be there. You can you go run, you can call me a bigot all you want. It won't change a single thing that I'm saying. And if you're willing to open your mind to it, you can go look it up for yourself on the internet. I'm not lying to you. So I'm trying to help you.
Exactly. And literally they are handing him a giant tumor and sticking it in his body.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, but I just wanted to show you guys where that whole so-called realm of science is heading, where they're trying to go. I'm going to make my call here. I'm going to call my shot, but I guarantee you eventually it'll get tied into, so-called reproductive care, where people are going to be looking at, women are going to be looking at the fetuses inside of them and be like, oh, well, if you can change the gender of something, I don't necessarily want to get an abortion. Can you change the gender of the baby as he's born? I don't want a boy, I want a girl. I guarantee you that's where this stuff is going.
Well,
that kind of weirdness.
That's already happening.
You're calling me a weirdo. I guarantee.
But let me ask you this question about medical ethics. So, if
I wish we would
that
find
doctor
them again.
knowing what cancer is, how it is caused, when that doctor puts that organ back in him, and forces his body to accept it so it doesn't reject that organ, and he dies with cancer. Is the doctor responsible, especially because of the knowledge that we have of how cancer is formed and what it is?
Well, no, they're probably just going to offer medically assisted suicide.
Oh
Because that's
gosh.
what they're already doing it up in Canada.
No. I didn't think of it. You surprised me. That's you just hit me with a, oh, you're right.
Well, I'm sorry. And then,
That's
and then,
that's all.
and then,
That's all. I'm not
and then
disagreeing
they'll
with you one
come up
bit.
with some asinine argument of, well, wouldn't you rather, get 10 good years living as your true authentic self than a lifetime living as a lie? Tell me that's not the type of like asinine bass backwards arguments that they would give you. That's somebody that
You're in bounds. You're in bounds. I can't. Yeah, you're in bounds with your thinking with what we're being told anyway. Anyway, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to go
All
any
right,
further down that rabbit hole, but that ethics just hit
yeah.
me, you know?
Yeah. So anyway, so put you down in the valley a little bit. I'm going to bring you up. This story really surprised me, and it was incredibly encouraging. So this one's pretty cool. So we're going to go back over to the Middle East, to Palestine. Find that on a map. So supernatural move.
I know right where it is.
I know you do. It's a joke. So supernatural move of God in Gaza. This is from the Christian. I want to make sure I get this right. CBN. I can't remember. Is that the Christian Broadcasting Network?
Christian Broadcasting Network. Yeah.
Supernatural move of God in Gaza. Line the picture back up. As hundreds reportedly meet Jesus in dreams. So more than 200 Muslim. It doesn't say it here, but the other report I said men. 200 Muslim men in Gaza have reportedly asked to follow Jesus after meeting him in a dream. And in another, read this tweet right here by a Michael Lacona. This is 2 weeks ago. God is working in the midst of war. The news coming out of Palestine from the underground Christian ministries. Over the past 2 days, we have ministered to hundreds of fathers who have lost most, if not all, of their children in the war. As we moved these men to safety, we fed them, washed their clothes, and began to read the Bible to them, sharing the way of peace through Jesus. Then a big miracle happened. Last night, Jesus appeared to more than 200 of them in their dream. This is going to take me over to...
You got a date on that? This is during these
November
50
10th.
days of war, right? November 10th.
November 10th.
So when he said last night, is November 10th last night or the 9th? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that specific, but in between those days, is that what he's saying?
I believe so.
This is awesome.
Jesus appeared to more than
this.
200 of them in their dreams. They have come back to us to learn more from God's word and are asking how to follow Jesus. So,
wow.
So, and just a little bit more context for those of you guys out there that maybe aren't as familiar with Islam, but for the Muslims, they really believe, and it's very, it's the word I'm looking for, like part of their tradition, because the way that the Prophet Muhammad was delivered, what they believe are the holy inspired words of the Quran from the angel Gabriel, I do believe, was in a dream. And so as you go through a lot of their writings, it's very central to their faith because of the way that the blessed prophet received the words, that the prophets do speak to them in their dreams. And so you'll hear the imams talk about that quite a bit. And so for these men, these Palestinian men who have lost everything in war, being ministered to by these Christians in Israel, like there's so much that's going on with this soup right here in the Holy Land. And then for them to say that Jesus, who they believe is a prophet, by the way, if you look into the Muslim tradition, they do believe that Jesus
they accept him as a prophet,
and is accepted as a prophet, a good man, and they'll even tell you a holy man. But the fact that Jesus appeared to them in a dream, 200 of them. So now you're starting to get into the realm of when God does providentially reveal himself in a miracle, and it's in ways that, how can you prove that? Well, one person says God appeared to them in a dream. They could be lying. Two people say God appeared to them in a dream. It could be a conspiracy.
Five could be a coincidence or a
Yeah,
conspiracy to
you
try.
start getting to 200. And then as you read into this, you find that all of their dreams were eerily similar, the same.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus appearing to them, saying the same thing in each of the dreams, and then they're coming back to find out more about this
And
man
that's the
named
other thing.
Jesus that appeared to me in his dream. The only thing that I wish that I could do is if I was there, I just want to be like, what did he look like? I really want to know.
How did you
How
know
did you know
it was Jesus?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, and that proves the story is true, is if I'm thinking this being the missionary group that's doing it, they are majority Anglo. Do you know what these Palestinians think of Anglos?
The great Satan, man. We're not. Ooh.
And they come back to the Anglos to find out who Jesus is. That is not who they would turn to.
No.
Get what I mean? That's not written in the story, but I got a good hankering that this group, now there's one other group that it might be, which would make it even twice the amount of miracles, because there are
the Jews for Jesus.
Jewish, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And if they come back to the Jews and ask them who Jesus is, because now you're coming back to a group of people who they themselves, most of them do not believe in Jesus, Yeshua, Messiah, Jesus the Messiah. They don't believe in that, and yet they hate them on top of it. That would be a double whammy. So not just the Anglos, but if it was Jewish Christian missionaries, that would this is awesome. That is awesome.
Risen Jesus Inc. Risen Jesus Inc. I'm researching here in the background as you're Michael Lacona, Risen Jesus Inc.
See, Lacona, not necessarily a traditional Jewish Hebrew name, but that doesn't mean he's not.
Well, I don't know too much about the organization, but there you go, guys. If you want to go out and look him up a little bit, but he is the president of this organization, Risen Jesus
Awesome.
Inc., and that's where the tweet originated. Not a tweet, actually, it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facts matter. Get them right.
Awesome. But that just has connotations that those men would go back to either Anglos or Jews that shared with them about Jesus to learn how to follow him. Oh man.
Anymore. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you because I understand that I knew that you would get the profoundness, the weight of that. But it's always cool to see God move in the midst of profound human suffering like that. And these are the types of people whose faith are born in war and in struggle that will go on to be true world changers for the faith because they came to Jesus at their lowest point when they had nothing else. And
you cannot take that experience away from them.
Right.
Because remember, the Bible even talks about itself. Who would die for a righteous man?
And people are more likely to die for a righteous man.
For a righteous man, but still not. But
not
people
many.
won't die for a lie.
Right.
And so you can't take these guys have come back. People, yeah, they're not going to lay down their lives or if you threaten them with anything, but you can't deny that is reality to them, and you can't take that away from them now. Yeah. And that's the profoundness that goes along with it. By the way, over the past 10 years, there has been a couple of thousand people documented between Afghanistan, Iran, and Iraq. There have been a couple of thousand people that are documented that Jesus has appeared to them in a dream.
I think it's incredible. And then you go back to earlier,
but not 200 at one time.
You go back to earlier this year and the revival that was taking place at the university.
Wilmore.
Yeah, now it's escaping me. Daggone it.
Yeah, it's named after one of our Methodist
Moody?
Asbury.
Asbury, not Moody.
Asbury.
Asbury University. And that was really cool. And the people started driving in and flying into that thing to go see what in the world
Want to be a part of
was
that.
going on. So
get you some of that. Yeah.
So Second Great Awakening, Great Revival. I don't know, man. Aslan's on the move, though. If you guys are Lewis readers, but yeah, the Lord is on the move.
I love that statement,
and it's so cool. And yeah, I'm kind of getting a little bit tingly reading about it. So hopefully we will get a chance here to be a part of something that he's doing. I really do pray that. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next story. Gonna go kind of back down into the gutter a little bit here.
Right.
Sorry, but government is not listening. Anger over immigrant. Yeah, so say it again.
Tell me something new.
Say it again for the people in the back. Government is not listening. Anger over immigration spills into riot on Dublin's streets. So this story has been ongoing
over in Dublin.
In Dublin. The story is still ongoing. I believe that as of right now, there's been 34 arrests at the time of this recording that I saw in an update to this story. But just to catch you up on the facts on the ground, there was an Algerian immigrant, unsure whether he was a citizen of Ireland or if he's a migrant, but of Algerian origin, that stabbed and injured a woman and I believe up to 5 children. I'm going to couch my statement.
Oh my goodness.
In a nearby school. The young men in Dublin took quite an offense to that, as they say, and ended up setting fire. So a riot quickly ensued, and then as a result of the riot, fire was set to a hotel in downtown Dublin that is known to house a lot of these migrants that are coming to the area. So the really interesting part here, again, as always, that I want to point out to you guys is the coverage of the event here by the legacy news media, which has almost exclusively covered this story from the left. So if you go look at it, you won't. Excuse me. Wow. Let me back up. Get a running start and try again. You would be hard pressed to find a story that's going to tell you all of the facts that I just did, starting with the beginning and giving you the full context. What you will find are stories that are all about the so-called, and they're all calling them right-wing, far right-wing protests as a result of being angry about migrants. That's how this is all being couched, right? How it's all being described. There's no, on the ground, they're saying there's no telltale that this is right-wing, that this is left-wing. This is Irish people in Dublin
defending Irish people.
Yeah, upset that a foreigner stabbed and injured a woman and 5 children.
Let me tell you what not bothers me. Let me tell you what astounds me. I guess Algerians aren't familiar with the IRA.
I was just, it's hilarious that you said that.
That is a group of people I really wouldn't want to hack off. I mean,
that is hilarious that you said that, because I told Hannah, I was like, do you want the IRA? Because that's how you get the IRA. Like,
that's how they'll get national on you.
Your Irish sounds really Scottish to me.
I know.
Whatever.
I crossed over there.
But it is absolutely hilarious because the Brits have spent the last 3, 4, 5 decades fighting the IRA ever since Ireland split. Because of Catholic and Protestant Ireland, and. They've never fully closed them out.
No,
they're kind of underground and still operating. And I'm like, this is, I gotta be really careful how I say this. It would seem that this, to a person that would be maybe sympathetic to the IRA, that this would be their time. They're like, dude, that's all we need is the sympathy of the people.
All I'm thinking is, hey, there's a group of people called IRA, and you don't want to mess with them because they're pretty stinking ruthless.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm thinking, I'm thinking it must be a young dude that doesn't know anything about the IRA history.
Yeah, I don't.
And they're nationalists too.
Oh
I
yes.
mean, they're all
Well,
of, so you take on you mess with one of their people, their ladies, their women. So anyway, I'm just thinking,
all right.
say,
Yeah.
this comes to my mind. Say, you're not from around here, are you?
Yeah. How could you?
You don't know how things work, do
How
you?
could you tell? Not my Guinness. All right. So anyway, so moving right along. So you got terrorism in Ireland. Let's talk about a little homegrown. So this story and the way that if you guys were paying attention to this in between bites of turkey, absolutely cracked me up.
We
No
we were
sign.
eating turkey.
Yeah.
Wow, what did those people do to us?
No sign of terrorism. This is NBC News. No sign of terrorism in blast that killed two at U.S.-Canada border in Niagara Falls, governor says. So if you go on to read the rest of the article,
Governor of New York.
yes, Kathy Hochul.
Holcomb.
Hochul.
Oh gosh.
Hochul.
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 Yeah.
So now what's really funny is the way that this story developed. Again, if you were paying attention to your Instagram or your Twitter or whatever, the way that I first saw it being reported on was blast at U.S.-Canada border, terrorism event, 2 dead, 1 injured, right? Then it was, I heard at one point that it was Iranian dudes trying to run the border to go fight the CBP. Then I heard it was Canadian terrorists trying to run the border coming south. And I was like, Canadian terrorists?
Canadian terrorists?
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
their conservative people were called terrorists by their Prime Minister Trudeau.
Oh, yeah.
He equated them to terrorists. So
Then for a little bit, there were images of an Iranian passport circling around on the internet, said that it was the only thing that was found that survived the blast because paper passports are,
all right.
explosion proof.
So
And
is
then
is this going to end up being like Tennessee, and we're going to end up finding out the truth like 3 years later, or what?
well, and that's what I'm saying. So going back to the article, right now, the way that they're wrapping it up, and it's just so weird the way that this story developed. It's so weird, and there's so much to it that just doesn't pass the sniff test, dude. Like on the surface, right? So, but the whole point of this is like trying to decipher like what the lies are, right? So that way you know where to start digging.
Well, yeah. So what's truth? What isn't? I don't. Well, let's throw out the obvious lies.
Right. So
Okay.
what we know, 2 dudes in a car tried to run the border, came in at a high rate of speed, excess of 75 miles per hour, hit.
Do we know which direction they were actually going?
They were heading north.
Or were they coming south?
They were heading
They were going north?
Yes.
Well, okay.
So, then, oh yeah, and that was another funny thing too. Original reports said that there was like tons of explosives found in the car. Now in this article, they're saying that there was no explosives found in the car. Nothing.
Wait, but it exploded.
Is what the FBI said. Yeah, and a giant fireball. This car just
Everybody
went up
knows.
in flames.
Now, I know we have Hollywood perspective, and so that may throw people off, but cars do not usually go up in fireballs even when they catch on fire.
Right. Well, in here, I don't know if you can see this. It's kind of small. But pay attention.
No, you don't have it up on my screen, so
Pay attention. Oh my word, we've been doing this whole thing and you didn't tell me that I wasn't. Let me fix this really quick. Why didn't you
I thought it was your new style,
No,
man.
why didn't you
remember the speech that you gave us at the beginning?
Why didn't you say something? Can you see this now?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, pay attention right here. You should have said something. All right, you've been doing the whole thing blind. I love it. All right, so pay attention up over here. Whoa. Wow. So did you see him hit this parking barricade?
Yeah.
And fly through. And then when he impacts into the wall, here you have, let's see if it'll come up. Come on. Come on. I have good internet, I promise. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Whatever. I'm not waiting around for it. But anyway, when it impacts the wall, it just goes up in a massive. Dude, John Woo would be proud. Big fireball. Only one
Okay.
CBP agent was injured, thankfully. But yeah,
Then the next question is, why did it explode?
I'm just I'm telling you. And then the whole Iranian passport thing that was that was found.
Yeah, it's hinky.
The whole thing is hinky. The
It's
whole
just
thing is
hinky.
hinky, man. And did you
Yeah.
see the car do like the weird barrel roll because it hit the parking barricade at a weird angle? You know, it to me the video looks like maybe whoever was in the car wasn't necessarily in control of the car because of the way that it comes flying in, like kind of going diagonally across the road, hitting a thing and then going airborne and doing a barrel roll because they didn't hit it at the right angle. It just I'm telling you, man, the whole thing is weird. And then the FBI in Buffalo, the FBI Buffalo field office took over and basically here that Wednesday is when it happened, and here we are Friday is when we're filming this, guys, and they've got the whole thing wrapped up and turned over to the police department there in northern New York, and they're like, nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here. No terrorism involved. Everybody go back about your day jobs. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
And there's no way of telling where the truth
That's what I'm
is
saying.
on some of that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You won't. It just.
But I tell you what, tons of speculation. Oh my goodness, you can make up some stories off of that.
This is the kind of stuff that conspiracy theory novels are made of.
Are made of.
John Grisham,
Are made
Robert
of.
Ludlum. Like this is where it starts.
Oh yeah, this is juicy. This is real to life.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, last one. You ready to laugh a little bit?
Here we go.
All right, so
Yeah.
so here's a video I got for you, and I'm glad I got this fixed. I didn't know that you weren't being able to see my screen. This is a video coming out of the United States Senate here. This is sometime last week.
Like he's self-made.
Can you hear that all right?
Sir, I wish you was
Yep.
in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company myself, and my wife was running the office.
There's a senator from
because
Oklahoma, by the way.
I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, every
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down.
Has it been
No,
about
you're a United States
120
Senator.
years
Sit
since
down.
we've seen a
Okay,
fight on
sit
the
down,
Senate
please.
Hold
floor?
on, look at
Can I respond, Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it.
see.
If
Hold
we
on.
can, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
Like he's self-made.
You really
Sir, I wish you was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company myself.
when
He's a fairly broad-shouldered man sitting there.
he's a big dude, yeah. His name's
didn't
Senator
look,
Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. He's a pretty big boy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Mr. O'Brien. Anyway, moving right along.
I'm just saying, I wish they would have let.
There have been fights on the Senate floor before.
Absolutely,
It's been about 100 years or so,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't mind seeing it
Now,
again.
this is the kind of
Can
stuff.
we sell tickets to this?
That's what I'm saying. This is the kind of stuff when they say "Make America Great Again." This
Right there,
This
baby.
is what I'm talking about. This guy gets
Absolutely.
it. And I wish if when Senator Bernie Sanders sit down, you are United States Senator. You should like, what's that got to do with the price of tea
With
in China,
anything,
dude?
man.
You should have let him
Guy
go.
got insulted, and he's going to get him some.
That's what it was. I wish he would have let him do it too. I really wish they would have let him finish it. That would have been great. And I really wish, like you said, fights start breaking out in Senate subcommittee hearings again. I might actually watch some C-SPAN.
C-SPAN's audience grows by 2 million.
I guarantee it, dude. I guarantee it.
Oh man! Next, the only thing they could do better is put a cage around that Senate hearing.
Things are gonna get good. So, well, that's what
That would be awesome.
I'm here. I'm telling you.
And it's free per view because it's on C-SPAN.
Free per view, baby. Well, that's what we got for you guys this week on the Who's Who and What's New. A little bit longer because we were catching up from the week that we missed. Hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving. Hope that you are having an awesome Thanksgiving weekend with those that you love. And I hope that you guys stick around for the Keeping the Main Thing, which is where we're going next. Remember, leave the video a like and subscribe. If you support what we're doing here, please share the video with a friend. We're only going to grow with your help because the algorithms, they certainly don't like us, especially after us talking about that first story today. So
yeah, that story.
Anyway, hope you guys are sticking around. We'll see you over in the Keeping the Main Thing.
See you there.
Guys, wrapping up today, we are going to move into Keeping the Main Thing. And for the main thing this week,
we're going to be looking at Demas.
Who is that?
Demas is a guy in the New Testament. First off, you got to know who Paul is, because Paul is the fellow who writes about Demas. You see, Paul has traveled around. He has started, oh my goodness, 5, 6 churches, something of that nature, and maybe even more than that.
All of the 7 churches that are spoken about or at least some of the 7 churches that are spoken about.
Oh, he did. Actually,
correct?
He starts all 7 of the 7 churches that's mentioned in the book of Revelation, and a couple of different ones. Just the other day, I hadn't realized it, but there's one of the churches. You think that the only place that you hear about it is in the book of Revelation, the church of Laodicea. But in one of the letters that Paul writes, he says that I wrote a letter to the book of, or to the church of Laodicea. And I have thought, man, I wish we still had that letter, because that would go really, I'd like to compare that letter to what Paul wrote to the church as compared to what Jesus told John to write to the church.
I can't.
That would be
off the top
really
of my
interesting.
Head, is that the church that's referenced when it said that they have abandoned their first love?
No, that's the church of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, yeah. Not to be confused with Philly.
Excuse me, Ephesus. Church of Ephesus abandoned their first love. The church of Laodicea was the last of the churches written to, and they said that they're lukewarm.
Laodicea. I should have remembered that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, in one of Paul's letters, and I forget which, he writes it says that he wrote a letter to them, and I was like, man, I'd like to see what Paul wrote them.
That would be cool.
But Demas is mentioned in a couple of Paul's letters. He mentions Demas in the book of Colossians as a name. He mentions him alongside of Luke. So Luke, who wrote 2 books that are included in the New Testament, both of those books are letters to a guy by the name of Theophilus.
Yeah.
Yes. And he writes them. One is about the life and times of Jesus Christ.
Do you know how I still remember that? Wow, I'll never forget that. And I don't even know if they're still doing their thing, but if John and Linda
Baker
are still doing the marionette thing, shout out to you guys if you ever see this. You made a profound impact on me when I was a young kid, but I still remember seeing that. And they go in with the little marionette, and he sits down and he's like, "I'm writing to you, dearest Theophilus." And they presented the gospel from the book of Luke as Luke was writing it, which
Yep.
always made a profound impact on me. So anyway, just a
Yep.
random memory from when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
it's a good memory.
But
It's a
you
good
can see
memory.
it stuck.
Yes, it
It's
did.
still in
Yes,
there.
it did. So Demas is mentioned with him there. So Demas has run around with some. I mean, he's rubbed elbows with some good guys, some guys of the faith. I mean, ones that have been tested and have stood time. In fact, have stood so much that their writings are included in the Gospels. Or in the canonized Bible. He's mentioned in the book of Philemon or Philemon, however you want to say it, and Paul calls him a fellow worker. So Paul puts him, he's on a nice pedestal. Okay. Paul has some great respect for him. But we are getting ready to take a look at a piece of scripture. This scripture that we're going to read, the story, we're cutting in on this letter on the life of Paul. And he's writing this letter to Timothy. And as he's writing this letter, we're getting his frame of mind. Now, he's been imprisoned. He's in Rome. The prison that he was in was a house, but then he is condemned. And he goes to a prison. They got tired of him being in a house. By the way, this isn't in the Bible, but it's tradition that they had to rotate Paul's guards because if they would stay with him too long, they would be converted to Christianity. So
these guys keep coming out of there radicalized.
so one of the things, the guards that were guarding him at the house where he was were rotated rather frequently, or they would he would convert them. But once he is condemned, he is sent to a Roman prison. Roman prisons back then were these things, these little tiny rooms that were subterranean, that the floors were lead lined. Also the floors were at an angle like this, and being lead lined. You could have the hole that they lowered you into them with was covered up, so you were normally dark. You didn't get to see things unless people came and visited you, and they would, and you only got fed unless people came and visited you. Down at the end where it finished sloping, led to the aqueduct that would take water away from the city of Rome. And what would happen is if you got forgotten down there, you got forgotten. The lead would eventually kill you. And as your body emaciated and got small enough and decomposed, there was a little slit before it went in, or unless the aqueduct came up and in, sometimes you could drown depending on that. But normally your body would roll by gravity downhill, and eventually you're done emaciated and your remains would just go into the aqueduct and you would be washed away. I mean, that's what the Romans did to people.
So, wait, so you're telling me that Rome did not have a robust prison system that rehabilitated their...
It was robust, but it didn't rehabilitate. That wasn't the point. Yeah. Okay, you went into their prison system to die. And but eventually Paul did not die that way. He was beheaded, but that's where he was put. He was removed from the house once he was convicted of his crime, and his crime was high treason to Caesar, because he had someone who was higher than Caesar in his life. That was his crime. So he betrayed it's not the throne, but what do I want to say? The leadership of Rome. So that's what ended up happening to him. He's beheaded. So he's been convicted of his crime. He's put into this pit, if you will, that you either die and go out the aqueduct, or eventually he's beheaded. He knows that he is convicted. And so you've got this guy who has totally given his life, and dying is okay to him. He's already died once. Death is not a fear, but he has really entered into suffering.
I died
Okay, I said
once.
something funny.
Well, I died once. What wait, what?
Yeah, he
what
died
what
once.
happened with that? Didn't take. Wait, what?
Yeah, God sent me back.
Yeah, that's
I wish you would hurry up and kill me again because I'd really like to go back.
yeah,
I
that's
mean, you can't to somebody who has died and come back, you can't threaten them with death. I mean, in fact, Paul even writes and says, to die is gain. I got to live. I got to finish what God has sent me here to do. Well, that's the reason why I want to live.
Yeah.
But if you kill me, it just means he said my job's over and I can come on home.
right.
No fear.
That's incredible. I mean, what?
And the fear is gone though, because
Zero
he's
fear.
already been there. See, our fear is the unknown. We don't know what's on the other side. But Paul's been over there. He knows what it is. Ain't no fear now. You threaten me with death. Dare you?
He's even more annoying since he died.
Exactly. It's even more annoying, So, but the suffering that he's starting to go through is starting to press upon him. The lead poisoning is starting to affect his vision. At the end of one of the other letters, he says, you can see with what large letters I write with, because it's dark and in this place where he's trying to write and he's trying to communicate. And the big part of the suffering is a big part of his heart, because he's still wanting to share Jesus Christ. He's wanting these places that he's started to grow and to know that they're okay, but no word is coming back to him on how all that is going. So he has these friends that come to him. Timothy is one of them. And Timothy comes back and forth. And Tychicus is another one of these friends that he sends out. And another one is Demas. And he counts on Demas to go to these churches, their fellow workers, which means Demas has actually spoken about Jesus Christ. But now Demas has watched them put Paul in jail and has watched him go from the house into this other jail. And something went inside Demas's head and said, what am I doing all this for? What's the purpose? I spent my life doing this, and the guy I've been following, working for, and we prayed for Jesus to set him free, and now he is rotting in the lead-lined prisons. I don't know if he's ever get out or if he's going to die with the lead poisoning. He's going blind from it. What have I been doing all this for?
It's kind of funny as you're saying that. I was thinking about some of the experiences that I've had in the United States military, and it doesn't matter what branch of like special operations that you go into. They all have an assessment and a selection type of event that you have to go through in order to train into and become part of the brotherhood, right? That is special operations or whatever. And during this assessment and selection, each and every one of them have what's called an attrition phase, where the main point of attrition is to weed out the people that don't have the stomach to go on and do the thing. So whether it's like during your Ranger assessment and selection program, they beat those dudes down in their own way. I can talk about what they do on the Special Forces side to do it. I know the Navy guys, if any of you guys are out there and know about it, can talk about it. I've heard stories about getting wet and sandy, and the hypothermia training that they put those dudes through. But it's all very specific, because they want to induce that level of stress so that everybody has to go through that point of what you just said. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to be here? Why would I go through all this? And that's just for a job. That's just so you can do a job.
Yeah, this is a life.
This
isn't just a job. Right.
So it's like I can understand on a somewhat of a visceral level of like what it is to go through a little bit of suffering, to be cold and feel sorry for yourself, and to have to be like, I'm going through it. I'm gonna keep going. But this is like a different level that Paul and Demas found themselves in.
Right. And Demas and Paul is going, Demas, man, I need you. I got to get this word out to these churches. I'm doing the work of Jesus, but you come in and you bring me food and you sustain me and you keep me alive and you give me friendship and you give me hope. Yeah, I'm not afraid of dying. What I am scared of is that church that I started in Thessalonica. I'm afraid the believers aren't going to hang together, and that church over in Corinth and the government is going to get them and tear them apart, and they're not going to hang on. And then there's that other church in Laodicea that I started, and then there's this other place, and as you keep taking the letters and that they go out to them, I am praying that these letters will find them and strengthen them, and as Satan is trying to sift them, that they have their faith in Jesus Christ, and that these churches just flourish, and that new believers come in. Demas, you're the connection, you're the guy. Demas is looking back at him and going, we prayed for God to get you out of this, and now you've gotten even worse, and now you're going to die. You've been condemned to death. What, Paul, what are you talking about, man? Aren't you seeing what's going on around you? What, Paul, are you that blind? Paul, you're going to die, and you're going to die at the hands of the government. Paul, and then just one day, he didn't show up anymore. That lifeline. And I want you to catch this, because it's not just, we're getting ready to read to you a section. I'm going to have Chris read it, a section of scripture where one day Demas didn't show up. And I can tell you that it's probably the number one thing on Paul's mind, because it's the first thing that he mentions. And then after that, there's all these other things that are just weighing down on him as he is sitting in a lead-lined jail, getting lead poisoning and losing his eyesight, and nobody is there to walk it with him. Can you pull up that scripture and read it for me?
I got it right here. Here's our BibleGateway.com. So 2 Timothy chapter 4, beginning in verse 9. Timothy, please come as soon as you can. Demas has deserted me because he loves the things of this life and has gone to Thessalonica. Crescens has gone to Galatia, and Titus has gone to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Bring Paul with you when you come, for he will be helpful to me in my ministry. I sent Tychicus to Ephesus. When you come, be sure to bring the coat I left with Carpus at Troas. Also, bring my books, and especially my papers. Alexander the coppersmith did much harm, but the Lord will judge him for what he has done. Be careful of him, for he fought against everything we said. The first time I was brought before the judge, no one came with me. Everyone abandoned me. May it not be counted against them, but the Lord stood with me and gave me strength so that I might preach the good news in its entirety for all the Gentiles to hear. And he rescued me from certain death. Yes, the Lord will deliver me from every evil attack and will bring me safely into his heavenly kingdom. All glory to God forever and ever. Amen.
There's a guy that knew that he was soon going to die. But trying to get all of that work and those workers that were around him. And did you catch it in there? He showed up in court. It's nice to feel like you've got somebody in your corner.
Just anybody.
Somebody. Nobody showed up. So you read those couple of paragraphs that he writes to Timothy, and it sounds heavy. But the very thing that was the crushing blow was Demas has deserted me.
Well, he's calling
So
it seems to me that he's calling in like his reinforcements, you know what I mean? Like he's
Timothy.
He's putting in a call.
Timothy's like a son to
That's
him.
what I'm saying. He's putting in his call for his QRF. So it's like you said that he's watching the clock roll down. He knows that time's at an end. So it's like who do I want with me when time is short. It's fourth and long. And he's like, I got to have a dude. I'm surrounded and I need a dude. He's calling for his boy, Timothy. He's like, Timothy, come as quick as you can. Like, I need you.
So here's the deal. You called it out. Here's the deal. You see, Demas was that guy.
So he's calling in Timothy to replace.
To replace what Demas did to him. Because Timothy is at I forget which church it's at, and he allowed Timothy, Ephesus, I believe, Timothy to go there. No, I don't think it's Ephesus. But he allowed Timothy to go there to be their pastor. And that's why Timothy stopped traveling with him. And Demas took that place. And now he's writing back to Timothy to come. Please come. I need you. Because that guy that I gave that place to, he deserted me. So we talk about screw-ups, New Testament screw-ups. Let's talk to men about their mettle for just a minute. Guys, I need you to consider what kind of metal that you're made with. Are you made of the metal that you made the promise, you made the oath, you know the commitment is right, you will follow it through? Or is there something in there and Satan knows where it is too, and he will find it and he knows what that value is, and he may just offer you enough money for you to walk away from that commitment? Listen, guys, when we do this, it's an all or nothing thing. Give God all your heart and never turn away. Don't be buyable. And I don't mean viable with a V. I mean buyable. Don't let the enemy be able to buy you out. Don't know what that price is, but the best thing you can do is not even have one. And I don't know what you got to do for that. But here's the screw up. Demas, and it's all because what the world was going to offer him was better in his mind than what he was getting. And that's heavy. But how do you not be that guy? That's the deal. Figure it out and follow God with all your heart.
And I would say what it is you got to count the cost of a thing going in. If you start down a path.
Well, there's a scripture about putting your hand to the plow, right?
And then looking back. A man who puts his hand to the plow and then looks back is unfit for the kingdom.
Unfit.
The scripture says. But you got to count the cost going in. And it's really no secret. See, everybody wants heaven. Heaven sounds great. But nobody wants to go through hell to get to it.
To get there.
And the problem is there's and it's no secret in the Bible because Jesus tells you what you're going to deal with. Remember when the world hates you, it hated me first. Remember when you go through great trials and tribulations, like for my sake, you're blessed, right? He tells us. It's no secret that the cost of this thing, living for God, is everything.
Oh, it's high.
No,
it's high. It's high, baby.
By definition, it's everything.
It's everything.
Like, but also it's not, which is so strange because I'm usually reminded in times like this that none of us get out of this thing alive.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
and here's the big irony. You ready for big irony picture?
Yeah.
Demas wasn't the one suffering.
Hey, man.
But it hit him. What am I doing? How are we spinning our wheels, Paul?
Well, I'm wondering too if there wasn't an idea of like, dude, look how bad he has it. Like what? How much worse is it going to be for me? Like I was, I don't know.
That's legitimate.
there's
That's legitimate because he loved the world, having his own life, not laying down his life, not giving up his life for the cause of the gospel. Whatever picture that takes,
right.
he had his love for that was greater than giving it all to God.
Well, and that brings up an interesting point too. Is it's like when you say like his love for the world, when Paul says here, he deserted me because he loves the things of this life and has gone to Thessalonica. Like, what does that look like? Does that look like, he showed up with like a woman in high heels and a red dress, some slutty.
It could
slutty chick,
here's the
and was
thing.
just like, she's offered me $1 million, Paul. I can't turn it down, and she's gonna give me a house in Thessalonica and blah blah blah. Or did it look like, you know what, Paul, we were doing this ministry thing together. I think I have another ministry opportunity in Thessalonica, but it's a little less stressful, dangerous. Maybe that church is going to offer me like a nice stipend and
what I want
like,
you to,
what does it look like? But either way, Paul's telling
every one of those, it looks like you go, every one of those. Yeah, it looks like every one of those. Here's the beauty of the scripture. Why Paul didn't tell us specifically or describe it specifically what it was is the beauty, because you see, it speaks to us in principle.
Right.
You apply the principle.
Right. Miss by a little or miss by a lot. You missed.
That's
a hard one for people to grapple with. The old almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
Dude, like, and this ain't that. This ain't that.
No, it's not. And so the reason for not giving us explicitness is absolutely the beauty of this, so that it can speak to anybody. So every picture that you gave, the answer is yes. There was something that was better offer than what he had.
Right.
And he wanted that more. He took a look at that. And then he looked at how he was serving with Paul and said, that's better.
That ain't it. Yeah.
There you go. You want to wrap us up and take us home?
Yeah. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's Bible's Biggest Screw-Ups, talking about Demas, a man who failed to count the cost. And when the chips were down, he cracked. He walked out. Yeah. Don't be that guy. Count the cost. Know what it is going in, and don't be buyable. Don't have a price.
That's it.
If you guys stuck with us this far, man, thank you so much. That's a marathon, dude. I appreciate you sticking with us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Please share it with a friend. Help us grow the channel. Help us grow the Department of Common Sense. It's a good spot to be. We love having you guys here.
Yeah.
Please hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you agreed with, what you liked. Let us know what you didn't agree with and what you didn't like. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any prayer requests, make sure you stick them down in there for us. That is absolutely
us.
And
we will pray for them.
We go through every comment, every message. That's really us. So
yeah,
absolutely. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this week. We will see you next week on Common Freaking Sense. Stay strong, dudes.